I trusted my cousin Marla so much, I set up her cancer fundraiser myself, only to discover she faked every tear, every chemo session, and scammed nearly $50,000 while I defended her. I didn't just expose her lies. I made sure the whole town heard the truth live on the air. It started when Marla posted a beach photo 2 days after she said she was too weak from chemo to get out of bed. Her toes were painted coral pink. Sunlight glinted off her champagne glass. The caption read, "Still fighting, but choosing joy, yellow heart." I stared at it so long the screen went dim. That was the moment I knew. Because I remembered what she'd said that Friday. 3 rounds in, she whispered on the phone, voice raspy like a ghost. Stage 3 lymphoma. They said it's aggressive. I had dropped my tote bag, right there in the library stacks. I believed her. I always believed her. Marla and I weren't just cousins. We were practically raised as sisters. Her dad, my Uncle Ted, lived 3 blocks from us growing up. Every summer we shared bunk beds and popsicle sticks and whispered about boys under quilted sheets. She called me Di, like only family could. So when she called crying, I didn't hesitate. I set up the GoFundMe that night, used a photo she liked, head wrapped in a scarf, eyes soft with bravery. Wrote the caption myself, "Marla Jennings has always been the strong one. Now she needs us." The first $5,000 came from our local book club ladies, then neighbors, then strangers. It spread fast. I posted updates from her texts. When she said she couldn't hold down food, I posted a quote about grit. When she said her hair was coming out, I reposted her blurry bathroom selfie with the caption, "Still radiant." And when she called sobbing one night, because the hospital was requiring upfront payment, I wired $2,000 from my personal savings. I never told Harper. Harper Lynn, my best friend since college, and the only person who knew about my side gig podcast, would have asked too many questions. Harper's a data analyst. She doesn't do blind faith. I should have told her. Instead, I watched as Marla's updates grew fewer, but her lifestyle got louder. The new SUV, the upgraded apartment, spa weekends. Her hair didn't grow back, but her lashes looked suspiciously fuller. I tried to explain it away, told myself maybe her doctor encouraged rest, or maybe it was part of her mental health plan. Then she posted the beach photo, and every excuse I'd ever made for her dissolved like cheap ink in water. My hands went cold. I reached for my mouse, clicked print, and started a folder. The name on the tab, receipts. By Monday, the folder had 8 tabs and a sticky note on the front that said, "Liar, but prove it." I didn't sleep that night. I opened her GoFundMe again, scrolled past the donations. Carol D., $250. Janet L., $500. My Aunt Bonnie chipped in $900. I cross-referenced dates, matched her treatment days against her posts. That's when the first receipt fell into place. August 14th. She told everyone she had round 3 of chemo at 10 a.m. But at 3:06 p.m., she'd posted a photo of her gel manicure, captioned, "Self-care is still care, nail care." That alone wasn't enough. So I started digging deeper. I remembered something Harper once said after catching a guy lying on Hinge. Photos lie. Metadata doesn't. So I called her. "Hey," I said, trying to sound casual. "Quick favor, can you pull metadata from a photo on someone's Insta story?" Harper went silent. "You finally starting that investigative series?" she asked. I didn't answer, just sent her the screenshots. She called back 20 minutes later, voice sharp. "Diane, that beach photo? Taken on a Wednesday, same day she claimed to be in an infusion clinic. GPS data says she was 3 states away, Wyndham Beach, South Carolina." I pressed my palm to my forehead. "You're sure?" I pulled the file myself. Timestamp, geotag, everything. I stared at the printout in my lap. My mouth felt dry. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't even a white lie. It was fraud. Harper exhaled through the phone. "Want me to keep going?" I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. By the end of the week, we had a dozen data points, deleted tweets, doctored images, a voice memo from Marla's podcast where she cried about insurance battles, spliced and reused from another interview 2 years ago. She hadn't just lied, she'd orchestrated it. I still hadn't said anything to Marla, not one word. Instead, I saved everything. bank statements showing matching withdrawals and high-end boutique purchases, a receipt from a spa retreat. On the same weekend, she claimed to be bedridden. I organized them by date, labeled them like chapters in a book. The fall of St. Marla. Then came the final twist. Harper called, voice shaking with disbelief. "You're not going to believe this. She's being honored next month. Local radio, Women of Courage segment." I didn't hesitate. "Get me the contact. I'm ending this live." Brett Chambers sounded skeptical the second he picked up. "This is Brett. Morning Drive. 103.7 FM. You're calling about the segment?" I kept my tone level. "Yes, I am. I have information regarding one of your upcoming guests, Marla Jennings. It's sensitive." He sighed. I pictured him leaning back in some overworked swivel chair, headphones askew. "Look, ma'am, if this is about a scheduling error, you'll need to talk to my producer." "It's not about scheduling," I cut in. "It's about fraud." There was a pause, a very long one. "She's accepted over 30 grand in donations for a fabricated illness," I said. "I have documentation, financials, timestamps, photo metadata, voice clips." He whistled low. "You sound like you've been preparing." "I have. I also have one request. Don't pre-record her segment, keep it live." That part took longer. Brett didn't jump at the idea of hijacking his own airtime for a family feud. I gave him enough to worry him, but not enough to scare him off. "I'm not doing this for drama," I said. "I'm doing it because people trusted her. I trusted her." He asked me to email a preview file. I sent him a PDF titled Timeline of Deceit, 10 pages, bullet-pointed, with supporting visuals. He called back 24 hours later. "My producer thinks we're insane," he muttered, "but I'm going to give you 3 minutes. No guarantees. If it turns ugly, we cut." "That's all I need," I told him. The interview was set for the following Thursday, 8:40 a.m. Marla would be featured during the Local Legends slot. The teaser had already gone out. From chemo to community hero. Don't miss this inspiring segment with Marla Jennings, survivor and speaker. I stared at the graphic. Her in that damn headscarf, beaming like she hadn't built a pyramid out of lies. The night before the segment, I couldn't sleep. I stared at my notes, listened again to her shaky voice on the GoFundMe video. "I just want to see spring." It was Oscar-worthy. I opened my own podcast mic, pressed record, practiced my words until my voice didn't crack. I wasn't going in angry. I was going in clean, cold, surgical. By sunrise, my file was ready, my outline memorized, my nerves steeled. Harper texted me one line. "Make it count." At 8:37 a.m., I dialed in. At 8:40, the red light blinked, and Brett said, "Marla, we have a surprise caller, someone close to you." Brett's voice tightened like he already regretted the decision. "We've got a caller who says she knows you well. Diane, you're on the air." I didn't breathe, just spoke. "Hi, Marla. It's Diane." A beat, then her laugh. Light, airy, fake. "Oh my God, Di. What a surprise!" I cut her off before she could spin. "Ask her about October 12th, I said, voice steady. "The day of her 3rd chemo session." Silence. I kept going. "Because I have security footage from Lux Nail Spa. Timestamp, 3:06 p.m. She was getting a gel set, pink, with white tips." The studio fell dead quiet. Marla stammered. Wait, what is this? I think you're confused." "No, I'm not," I said. "Neither is your bank. I subpoenaed the transaction log from your GoFundMe linked account. Same day. $118 charge at Wyndham Mall Sephora." Brett's voice wavered. "Marla, do you want to respond?" She tried. "Diane, I can't believe you'd do this here. I told you I've been private about my journey." "Your journey has a Louis Vuitton receipt," I snapped. $570. Day after you said you were hospitalized for fatigue. I heard a mic shuffle. Probably Brett hitting mute, panicking. Marla's voice turned brittle. "You don't understand, Di. People wanted to help. I didn't force anyone. They donated from love." "Then return the money," I said. "Tell Carol D that her $250 didn't pay for a clinic. It paid for your spa wrap and champagne brunch." "She's lying!" Marla cried, but her voice cracked. Brett unmuted with a cough. "Folks, this is not where we expected this interview to go. We're gonna step away for a break. Don't cut it." I said sharply. Let me finish. Silence. Then Brett. 1 minute. I leaned in. I loved you, Marla. I believed you. I wired you $2,000 from my own savings. You sent me pictures of IV drips and told me you were dying. But the metadata says you were at a beach rental. South Carolina. Same scarf. Same sunset. No reply. I finished with one breath. To everyone listening, I have the receipts. GoFundMe, dates, images. It's all being forwarded to authorities. A long pause. Then Brett's voice again. Quieter this time. We'll be right back after this. The line went dead. I took off my headphones. My hands were shaking. Harper texted. That was a kill shot. The audio replayed online within hours. Someone had screen recorded the entire broadcast and uploaded it to Reddit. Cousin calls out cancer scammer live on air flushed. By lunch, it was trending under local scandals. I didn't share it. Didn't need to. The internet did what it does best. Comments poured in. Some in disbelief. Some furious. Most heartbreakingly kind. My mom had real chemo. This makes me sick. I donated $50. Never again. This woman deserves jail. That afternoon, Harper called. It's happening. Her fundraiser page just got suspended. I clicked the link. A banner stretched across the top. This campaign is under review due to reports of fraudulent activity. Beneath it, a dead donation button. The comments section had exploded. Even Uncle Ted's post appeared. We are looking into this as a family. Please respect our privacy. I almost laughed. Privacy? Marla had broadcasted every sob story like a Hallmark script. But that wasn't the worst of it. 2 days later, Brett called me directly. Hey, he said, exhausted. Just wanted to let you know. We got subpoenaed. Police want the audio. We're cooperating. I rubbed my forehead. Thanks for telling me. She said she'd sue the station. Then deleted all her socials in one night. Instagram, Facebook, even her Etsy store vanished. Was she selling cancer merch? I asked, half joking. He didn't laugh. T-shirts, stickers that said Warrior Woman, and lymphoma laced but still glowing, sold almost 500. Of course she did. Uncle Ted called me that night. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. Just 6 seconds of silence. Then came the knock on my door. Not metaphorical, a real knock. I peeked through the peephole. Harper. She had 2 drinks in hand, and that look she gets when she's worried, but pretending not to be. Come on, she said when I opened the door. I figured you'd need something strong, and something sweet. She handed me bourbon and pie. We sat on the floor. Do you think she'll get arrested? I asked. Harper shrugged. Fraud's tricky, but the DA's already flagged the case. I exhaled, then whispered what I hadn't said out loud to anyone. I wanted to believe her. Harper looked over. Serious now. That's not your weakness, Diane. That's what makes you the one worth trusting. I didn't answer, just picked up my fork, took a bite of pie. I clicked record 2 weeks after the broadcast. Same mic, same room. But this time, the voice was mine alone. Hi, I said softly. I'm Diane Maddox. You might have heard my voice a few weeks ago, but not my story. The red light on my mic glowed steady. I've worked in a public library for 17 years. I believe in facts, receipts, stories that don't skip the hard parts. That's why I started a podcast on truth-telling. Mostly interviews, small stories, little reveals. I inhaled. But last month, I became the story. And not because I wanted to. I laid it all out. How Marla called sobbing. The fundraiser. The SUV. The photo that broke the spell. The metadata Harper decoded. I didn't dramatize it. I didn't need to. Truth carried its own tension. I paused the mic once, when I felt my throat tighten. Then continued. When I confronted her live on air, it wasn't for revenge. It was because every donor deserved better. Because people who fight real illness deserved better. Because I deserved better. My voice cracked on that last line. I didn't edit it out. After I hit publish, I closed my laptop and went for a walk. Library hours were long behind me, the streets quiet, cold pressing in through my coat sleeves. By morning, the episode had over 10,000 plays. By noon, over 60,000. I stopped checking after that. Emails flooded in, some from cancer survivors, some from listeners who had lost family to scammers. A few were donors to Marla's GoFundMe. One woman wrote, "You reminded me to ask questions again. Thank you." Another said, "You gave me the courage to leave a toxic friend who lied like it was air." But the one that made me stop was from a producer at a local nonprofit radio collective. They wrote, "Hi Diane, we heard your podcast episode. We're launching a new series called Integrity in Action. Would you consider hosting? You have a calm power that doesn't just call out lies, it brings people home to the truth." I stared at the message, then reread it, then clicked reply, yes. That night, I pulled my mic closer, lit a candle, sat in the chair where I'd once cried after seeing Marla's beach post. Now, I just smiled. Not out of pride, not out of pettiness, out of peace. Marla reemerged exactly 21 days after the broadcast, not on social media, not in person, through a lawyer. A stiff email landed in my inbox, cease and desist, defamation and character assassination, on behalf of Ms. Marla Jennings. I read it twice, then laughed so hard I had to set down my coffee. She was accusing me of reckless endangerment of reputation, that I had weaponized audio recordings to incite harassment, that Ms. Jennings has suffered significant emotional and financial distress due to this calculated smear campaign. Calculated? She didn't even spell lymphoma right in her first fundraiser caption. I forwarded the letter to Harper, who called within minutes. "Is she serious?" she said, voice incredulous. "She faked cancer, stole tens of thousands, and now she's upset she got caught? She's scared," I said. "This is her panic move." My podcast lawyer, yes, I have one now, skimmed the letter and replied with a single line. "Tell her to proceed. Discovery will be fun." That shut it down fast. No follow-up, no lawsuit. But not everyone disappeared. Carol D., the woman who donated $250, wrote me a thank you card in actual ink, said her sister died of real lymphoma, and that she'd felt so helpless until she heard the truth come out on air. Another woman sent an Amazon gift card with a note, "Use it for more manila folders, or wine." But the one that shook me came from Uncle Ted. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't even a full sentence, just a single line typed into an email. I should have seen it, I just didn't want to. He hasn't spoken publicly, but Harper found out he withdrew from the church board, citing, quote, "personal reasons." I didn't celebrate that. I didn't feel much of anything at all. Sometimes denial isn't cruelty. Sometimes it's just cowardice. Marla's last online footprint was a password reset request Harper intercepted, an attempt to access the old fundraiser account. The platform blocked her permanently. As for her SUV, gone. Repossessed last week. Harper saw the repo tag when she ran a plate check on a whim. We didn't cheer, just shared a look, like two women watching the curtain fall on a very long con. I opened a new podcast file that night. Not about Marla. About truth. I titled the episode "The Weight of Silence," because the only thing heavier than betrayal is pretending it didn't happen. I didn't plan to say yes to the panel. But 2 weeks after that email from the nonprofit station, another one came, this time from the Downtown University's media department. Subject line, "Guest speaker inquiry, ethics in broadcasting." Inside, a short polite note. "We're hosting a community panel on integrity in storytelling. Several students referenced your podcast in class. Would you join us?" I stared at the screen, thumb hovering over delete. Then I opened my calendar. Wednesday night was free. I said yes. It was held in a small auditorium. Nothing fancy. Folding chairs, lukewarm coffee in the back, a poster board titled, "Truth and Trust in the Digital Age." The other panelists were radio producers, one journalist, and a retired ethics professor. I wore a navy sweater and brought a single note card. When they asked me why I came forward, I didn't talk about revenge. I talked about patterns, the kind of deception that thrives in soft lighting and sympathy. How truth isn't always loud. It's patient, documented, and often lonely. One student raised her hand. "Do you regret exposing her on live radio?" I looked at the ceiling light above us, then back at her. "No," I said. "I regret not doing it sooner." Afterward, 2 women approached me quietly. One whispered that her ex faked mental illness to get rent money. The other said her sister had lied about a miscarriage for cash and attention. They didn't need advice. They just needed to say it out loud. to not be alone in it. That night, I got home and found a small envelope in my mailbox. No name, just a wax seal in pale lilac. Inside was a card. "You spoke what I've carried for years, thank you." No signature. I slid it into my notebook, right behind the last page of my receipts file. Not because I needed to hold on to it, but because I needed to remember. People are listening. Even when you feel alone with your fury. Later that night, Harper texted, "You should pitch a book." "I'm serious." I wrote back, "Too busy making sure the mic stays hot." She sent a fire emoji, then a glass of wine. The first time I saw the analytics spike, I thought it was a glitch. Then it happened again. My podcast, Clear Lines, usually hovered around 20,000 weekly listeners. Niche, but loyal. Quiet librarians, late-night researchers, women with eyes for lies. After the Marla episode, it hit 300,000. But this was different. A sudden jump. An avalanche of new subscribers, international listeners, emails from Sweden, Colombia, a producer from a London true crime pod, asking for a cross-feature. Harper called me breathless. "You're charting. Top 10 US personal journals." I blinked. "That's surreal." "What's more surreal," she said, "is who just followed you." She texted me a screenshot. Verified account. Blue check. Vera Knight, former federal prosecutor, current author, host of The Night Files, the podcast with over 5 million listeners. She'd followed me, then commented on my last post. "Clear. Measured. Relentless. That's how truth wins. Respect, Diane." I dropped my phone. I picked it back up and stared at those words. I'd spent the last 2 months pulling lies out of my own life like splinters. No PR team, no sponsor plugs, just me, a USB mic, and years of watching people twist sympathy into currency. Now the world was listening. Even Harper, queen of chill, couldn't contain herself. "This is your moment, Di. You didn't just expose a liar. You gave every honest person a voice." I didn't answer right away, because with all the momentum, all the press inquiries, something else was rising too, something I hadn't let myself feel in years. Grief. Not just for what Marla did, but for what it cost me to see her clearly. For the childhood summers that suddenly felt like false memories. For the girl who once believed Marla could never lie to her. I recorded an episode that night. No outline, no script, just me, talking into the mic in the dim glow of my reading lamp. "Sometimes," I said, "the people who love the spotlight most rely on the shadows we give them." I paused. But eventually, the shadow speaks and says, "No more." That episode, "No more," became my most shared yet. 3 days later, Vera Knight's team emailed. She wanted me on her show. And right there in the subject line, "You don't owe anyone silence." Vera Knight's studio smelled like cedar and cold brew. I sat across from her in a glass-walled booth downtown, knees tapping under the table, trying to look calm. Vera adjusted her mic. Her voice was lower than it sounded in the podcast. Richer, slower, deliberate. "Whenever you're ready, Diane." The red light blinked. We started simple. Background, motive, the steps I took to uncover Marla's fraud. I stuck to the facts. No dramatic adjectives. No cheap shots. Vera listened closely. No interruptions. Then she leaned forward, elbows on the table. "What made you realize you had to go public? Not private confrontation. Not behind closed doors. Public." I exhaled, my fingers tightening around the coffee cup. "Because silence protects the wrong people," I said. "It lets them cash in twice. Once on sympathy, once on shame. And I wasn't willing to bankroll that anymore." Vera smiled slightly. Not approval. Recognition. I thought we were wrapping when she asked one last question. A curveball. "Would you do it again even knowing the fallout?" I didn't hesitate. "Yes," I said. Every time. The episode aired that same night. Titled simply, "Diane, the librarian who spoke." Within 24 hours, my inbox overflowed again. Survivors, whistleblowers, journalists, even a few old library patrons who remembered me checking out murder mysteries behind the counter with a shy smile. And tucked between all the noise, one email with no subject line, just a single sentence. "I'm sorry, Marla." No explanation, no demand, no forwarding address. Harper and I sat on my tiny balcony that night, sipping gas station wine out of chipped mugs. "Do you believe her?" she asked. I swirled my cup, watching the cheap wine catch the street light. "No," I said finally. "But I believe she's scared." Harper nodded. "That's enough." We clinked mugs, a quiet toast to burned bridges, and the fire that lit the way forward. Later that night, I stared at Marla's email one last time, then deleted it, not out of anger, out of peace, because closure wasn't a scene, it was a choice, and I'd already chosen. The nonprofit emailed me again, this time with a file. Subject: fraud reporting follow-up, an additional statement you should see. I almost didn't open it, but when I did, my jaw locked. Inside was a redacted copy of a complaint filed by one of the major donors, an estate attorney who'd given Marla $5,000 from a client relief fund, the kind designed for actual cancer patients. Real need. That money had come from a grief-stricken widow, looking to fulfill her late husband's dying wish. Help someone who still has time. I covered my mouth. The complaint listed Marla's full name, aliases, bank transfers, and an updated donation total: $47,388. She hadn't just scammed our town, she'd hit national donor pools, private aid networks, even a cancer research scholarship fund. Harper came over before I could finish reading. "You saw it?" she asked, tossing her coat on the couch. "47,000, I whispered. She was applying to real grants, using forged treatment documents. She even had a fake diagnosis letter. We know the oncologist's signature was copied. Harper opened her laptop. The name on the letterhead: Drive Maria Feldstein? She's real. Works in oncology at UCLA. And she's furious. She turned the screen toward me. An open statement on the UCLA faculty page. I did not, and have never, treated or met Ms. Marla Jennings. Any documentation, using my name or credentials, is unauthorized and fraudulent. The college had filed their own legal notice. The donor attorney had initiated civil charges. GoFundMe had formally banned her name and linked bank credentials. I sat back, dizzy. "She's not just a manipulator," I said. "She's a professional con artist." Harper nodded, scrolling. "Guess who else is suddenly offline? Her boyfriend. The one she posted about in February?" I blinked. "What happened?" "Deleted his socials. Blocked comments. His LinkedIn just changed from small business owner to freelancer." "You think he knew?" "I think he helped," I said. "Or at least didn't ask questions." That night, I added a new episode. The Anatomy of a Con. It was my calmest yet. Just facts. Just names. Just a quiet voice, reading the receipts that now spanned 49 pages and counting. At the end, I added one sentence. If she could fake a cancer diagnosis, what else did we believe? Just because we wanted to? Then I closed my laptop and waited for the world to catch up. Uncle Ted showed up at the library. He didn't call first, didn't email, just walked in, holding a box of Krispy Kremes like it could undo $47,000 in fraud. I saw him through the front glass, stiff in a windbreaker, scanning the checkout desk like he still remembered the girl who once stamped Hardy Boys books behind it. I walked out from the archive room slowly. Harper, 3 desks down, caught my eye. I shook my head once. He smiled like nothing was broken. "Thought I'd bring you something sweet." I folded my arms. "You shouldn't be here." His face fell. He looked older than I remembered. Not weak, just dimmed. "I didn't know it was fake," he said quietly. "I swear. I thought she was really sick." I raised an eyebrow. "She shaved her head, Ted. Told people she couldn't eat solid food." "You didn't question the steak dinner posts? The spa trips?" She said remission. She said it was part of her visualization therapy. "And she's my daughter, Diane." I took a slow breath. She was my cousin, too. And I didn't let that stop me from asking questions. He set the donut box on a shelf like that would help. "I didn't come here to defend her," he said finally. "I came to say I'm sorry. And to tell you, she left town." I blinked. "What do you mean, left?" "She moved out last week. No forwarding address. Cleared her apartment. Her phone's off. I haven't heard from her since." "Running," I muttered. "Or hiding." "Both," he said. "But I think she knows it's over." The money. The admiration. The game. We stood there for a moment, books towering around us like silent witnesses. I don't hate her, I said finally. I hate what she did, and how easy it was for her to do it. Uncle Ted nodded. She's not who I raised her to be. No, I said. But she is who you protected. He didn't argue. Just left the box behind and walked out with his head bowed. I waited until the door shut. Then I picked up the box, walked to the break room, and tossed it straight into the trash. Harper peeked in a second later. He cry? Nope, I said. But he looked like he wanted to. She nodded. Better than fake tears. We went back to work, and this time the silence felt earned. The nonprofit's new series launched on a Thursday. Integrity in Action. I hosted the pilot. Small studio. Soft lights. Just me, a condenser mic, and a stack of profiles on people who had stood up when staying quiet would have been easier. The intro music faded. I took a breath. This is for anyone who's ever been called dramatic for naming the truth. I didn't mention Marla by name, not on this show, but every syllable carried the weight of what she'd done. The first guest was a former nurse who'd reported insurance fraud at a private hospital. Got fired, sued, still showed up. The second episode featured a college student who uncovered a fake charity run through her campus sorority. She'd lost friends, but gained freedom. We didn't frame it as revenge. We framed it as resistance. The episodes took off. Within a month, Integrity in Action hit number 3 in nonfiction across major platforms. People were hungry, not just for scandal, for backbone. One night, while editing a late submission, I got a DM on the Clear Lines Instagram account from a username I didn't recognize. No profile pic, just at ShadowSignal24. The message? I know where she is. I blinked. Next message. She's in Tucson. Changed her name. Using her middle name now, Elise. Just applied to work at a community outreach nonprofit. Wants to help women with cancer. I stared at the screen. Harper was already asleep, but I texted her anyway. She called immediately. No way, she said. She's already trying to reset the stage? She never stopped, I said. Just found a new audience. We didn't post about it. Didn't share the tip publicly. Instead, I emailed the nonprofit directly. Attached a 2-page summary. Links to documentation. The 49-page receipt file. They replied within 12 hours. Subject: Thank you. Application withdrawn. No fanfare. Just a clean, quiet block. That night, I added a new note to the top of the folder. She'll try again. But this time, people know how to look. I shut the file. Locked it in my desk. Harper and I clinked glasses that Friday with real wine. No gas station label. This isn't the end, is it? She asked. No, I said. But now she's not the only one with a microphone. Brett's voice crackled through the headset. 5 seconds, Diane. You're live in 3, 2. I nodded once, heart steady. The auditorium lights dimmed. Over 500 people. Cameras rolling. My first live-taped panel. Behind the curtain, a producer whispered, "Last-minute add to the Q&A lineup. Someone named Elise wants the mic." I froze. Harper leaned toward me, voice low. "You don't think?" But I was already turning toward the curtain. The host smiled brightly. Up next, we have a guest with a unique perspective on public storytelling. The stage manager called out, "Elise, you're up." My breath caught. It was her.